What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zachary, surprising with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we're a little late on this episode, but holy cow, was UFC 328 maybe the craziest event of the year. It started so promising for me. We went 9-1 to open the card. Actually, we started out 8-1 on the prelims, I think it was, and then, or was it 7-1 prelims? I think it was 7-1 prelims, 3-2 on the 2-3 on the main card. And let me just tell you, crazy card top to bottom. We're going to be recapping everything that went down and talking about what is next for each and every one of the fighters. So a lot of exciting stuff there. Also going to do a brief little overview of Backlash. That's right, another WWE PLE came and went, and we have two more for the month of May. It's absolutely hectic. So those are going to be the two things we primarily cover on today's episode. You know, it's been a crazy time in my life. You know, I feel the pressure of growing up, but I'm 23, and I'm still young, still trying to work out what I want to do and just trying to be as productive as can be. So, you know, I'm trying to think of some ideas to expand content, but really the main thing I should be doing is just taking action, and that's just the main thing that I will be focusing on. And I've also been trying to get into running more, and especially exercising a bunch. I mean, I've always been good with that, but my new goal is to run a sub 40-minute 5-mile. I've done it before. That was like 5 years ago. So definitely need to get back to that. That's just a little side thing to talk about, but no real major fight news, if I'm being honest. Dana's pretty much covered everything. So let's dive right into it with our first little topic today, which is Backlash 2026. So for any of my professional wrestling fans, Tampa was home to the WWE Backlash this year, 14,600 in attendance, and it was a pretty good event from all the reviews. I wasn't able to watch it. I was out and about with my boys in college. I ran it back one last weekend in Mankato, but just to do a little recap of the card, it pretty much retconned a lot of bad stuff that happened at WrestleMania. For starters, we opened up with Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins, and they gave them 21 and a half minutes. Very deserved, very good, and it was a very good match from everything that I was told, you know. And what more would you expect from Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins? Just phenomenal. I'm sure their feud is far from over, but it's just refreshing to hear that those two were able to deliver such a stellar performance, okay? And especially for Braun Breaker, he's been kind of falling into the shadow of Obafemi as he's been growing since joining the main roster. And obviously, Obafemi is an absolute animal, but Braun Breaker was the guy after WrestleMania 41, and now he just is another guy on the roster. So I think with Braun Breaker walking away victorious here, it is a good look for him, and I look forward to seeing those two run it back. I'm sure up until SummerSlam or something, there's some big things ahead for Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. After that, Trick Williams with Little Yachty knocking off Sami Zayn to retain the United States Championship. And unlike WrestleMania, where they gave them 7 minutes, they actually gave them 13 minutes here. So a little extra time to perform. Pretty much the same match from everything I heard. Trick Williams retains, thankfully. And honestly, I think these two should just cut their feud. Trick Williams should feud with Ilya Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes. And people are saying Sami Zayn should just go and take a heel roll against Cody Rhodes. Maybe even like Ricky Saints he could feud with. But I don't know if Ricky Saints is a good guy. So I don't know. Stellar match overall there from what I heard. And obviously, Sami Zayn and Trick Williams are always going to deliver. And I'm happy to see Trick Williams is thriving here. And just like that, two major stars who are young in their careers in the WWE, Braun Breaker and Trick Williams, have knocked off two legends, two first ballot Hall of Famers in Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn. After that, maybe the most talked about thing from this entire weekend, and that is the Danhausen and his mystery partner versus The Miz and Kit Wilson. This has been a gag feud, if you will, very comedic, very funny, and everyone was curious who the mystery partner was going to be. Ooh, who could it be? And lo and behold, Danhausen's mystery partner was Minihausen. And you may be like, what is Minihausen? Well, it's Danhausen, but as a midget. And this was one of the more comedic matches. A lot of people were saying they didn't like it. Some people were saying they like it. And it's just a different style of wrestling. You know, Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins, Trick Williams, Sami Zayn, those matchups are going to be technical. All right, they're going to be telling a story using the in-ring actions, using very serious tones. For Danhausen versus The Miz and Kit Wilson, it's been a very comedic tone of match. They gave him 11 minutes and 30 seconds, which is phenomenal. And obviously, Danhausen walked away victorious, just as we thought he would. And it was very funny. There was this moment where there was like this machine or something. It's a fake machine. It's obviously just a box. And it's like the replicator, and it breaks or something. And a bunch of mini-houses, which is just a bunch of midgets dressed up as Danhausen, come out and just beat the living daylights out of The Miz and Kit Wilson, which is absolutely hilarious. So it's certainly a different tone of match, but nonetheless, it was very entertaining. So Dannyhausen and Minniehausen get it done. Very exciting stuff. And we'll see where they go from here. Danhausen is a star in the WWE. And I believe he's right behind Roman Reigns in merchandise sales, which is insane how much money. He's really just printing money for the WWE at this point, which is crazy to see. Then, obviously, the second to last match of the night, not the last segment of the night, but Io Sky taking on Asuka. And the one thing this match was plagued by is that the central person in this feud was Kairi Sane, who was like a friend of both of them. And WWE let her go. Like in real life, they let her go. And, it was unfortunate. The crowd started chanting her name. But Io Sky and Asuka were able to shut them up due to having the best match of the night. A amazing women's wrestling match. Just coming down to the wire. And eventually Io Sky walking away victorious. And just a technical, classic wrestling matchup, which is phenomenal to see. But the real thing is after the match, where these two, who, by the way, Io Sky a face, Asuka a heel, embraced each other, as obviously they are friends outside the ring, and almost a saying goodbye type of moment. And this leads a lot of people to believe that Asuka is leaving the WWE, maybe even heading back to Japan or AEW, which I don't blame her, because WWE right now is being overran by TKO. And unlike UFC, where UFC can obviously go on with TKO and be kind of unaffected, they're always going to have expensive ticket prices. For WWE, it's really feeling the full effect of this TKO merger, and it's just not been a good look for them. So, Io Sky, I think she should start going after Intercontinental Championships, United States Championships, World Championships, belts of some kind. And as for Asuka, this is probably the last time you'll see her wrestle in the WWE. I don't know if she's done, but the way she's been used over the last few years, I think it may be time for her to move on. And then John Cena came out to make a big announcement, and he announced the John Cena Classic, which is a competition that showcases present stars against future stars. Fans also vote to crown the inaugural champion from a pool of participants, noting that even those who suffered losses remain eligible to win the competition. Does that make any freaking sense? Absolutely not. I think it's, certainly something new. I think it was just an excuse to get John Cena on here. But this corporate's, version of John Cena is just a shell of his former self. He comes out in a suit. He kind of delivers underwhelming news, but still does it in his eccentric, attitude, which is kind of unfortunate. So John Cena just feels like a corporate puppet at this point. And will this John Cena Classic be entertaining? Probably, but we don't know anything about it. Is it going to take place on Raw and SmackDown at PLEs? Will it be its own PLE? How can someone win a match and then still not win the John Cena belt or something? Man, I couldn't freaking tell you. So that was certainly interesting, but it gives us something to talk about at least, so I guess I wouldn't nag on it too much. But then we got into the main event, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, 17 minutes and 50 seconds of just two guys going to war. And the one thing I was told about this match is that Jacob Fatu was literally playing like a video game character and just kept spamming the Tongan grip, which is this like weird type of grip on like the mouth, I'm pretty sure. It's something I think Umaga might have used to use or something, but I have no idea. These two just went to absolute war with each other. I think the Usos came out for a bit. I don't actually know if they did until post-match, but all I know is that Roman Reigns was able to survive and win with a final spear, but then after the match, Fatu attacked Reigns and basically stood tall with the belt to close out the show. Similar to Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, where the guy wins that everyone thought he would, but then like not the bad guy, but even I guess maybe Jacob Fatu is the bad guy. He's kind of like an anti-hero, but he ends up standing tall. Very odd stuff if you ask me. So these two are far from done. I'm sure they're probably going to run it back at Clash in Italy. They might even feud on into June. I don't even know what PLEs are in June, but that's all we had for Backlash. What is next? They're running up Saturday night's main event, which is going to be going down on May 23rd in Indiana. And now we already have two matches for that. Penta versus Ethan Page for the Intercontinental Championship, and the Vision versus the Street Profits for the Tag Team Championship. Interesting. Clash in Italy is then going down May 31st. No No storylines have led us there yet. Night of Champions is June 27th. Okay, so we kind of get a break from PLEs for a bit. Then we get another Saturday night's main event on July 18th, and then it's SummerSlam. So we kind of do get a bit of a break from WWE PLEs for a bit, but right now May is absolutely packed. I'd say Backlash was a success. I say it delivered to the degree that it needed to, and everyone was satisfied. And we also went 5 for 5 on our predictions, which I'll take, especially when I compete against my buddy Tyler, and I think think I'm up 5 picks on him now after having a pretty good predictions at Backlash. But let's get into the cream of the crop, the main thing I want to focus on, which is UFC 328. Was it the best pay-per-view of the year? And that's a good question. It's a really good question. I think UFC 327 is the only one that's close to it, and I think this one had better prelims at 328. I think for the main card, you obviously had a better fight of the night. Josh Hogan and Curtis Blades is probably going to be impossible to beat for fight of the night, but in terms of a card as a whole, I really think UFC 328 was not only the best pay-per-view, but the best event of the year. So let's get right on into it. We did really good on prelim predictions, 7-1. Main card, we started off with a bang, 2-0, and then we kind of faded. And I honestly don't regret any of my predictions, but we'll go back to it 1 second. We'll get to the main event because the main event's the craziest thing from this card. But we'll start it off, flyweight division, Jose Ochoa, Clayton Carpenter, and of course, Jose Ochoa got it done. 30-27s across the board. And honestly, I'm going to say Jose's ready for the rankings. He impressed me, looked really good, impressed me a lot here. 153 significant strikes to 68. Absolutely crazy. Defended 6 takedowns from Clayton Carpenter. Even dropped him in round 1. We thought he was going to knock him out. I mean, this was just an action-packed card. Outstruck him, or fight, I should say. A card too, but this fight specifically in the flyweight division. 54 significant strikes to 23 in round 1. 51 significant strikes to 25 in round 2. And 48 significant strikes to 20 in round number 3. This was just phenomenal. Just an amazing performance from Jose Ochoa. Going to be a great win for him, especially after starting off 1-2. But mind you, I want to preface this, his only losses are to the number 6 and number 8 fighters in the flyweight division. He now holds a nasty knockout of Cody Durden and a nasty performance here over Clayton Carpenter. So, Jose Ochoa, that's how you get a card going. I'll say for being a 3-round fight, Jose looked like he was trying to finish, man. He looked really impressive here, and I definitely say he should be rewarded with a ranked opportunity. There's about 2 to 3 guys, maybe even 4, that I've got my names on. So obviously at 15, you got Bruno Silva. He's got a fight coming up with Edgar Charez. Win or lose that, I think you could throw Jose Ochoa at him. Tagirlan Bekov recently lost to Koichi Horiguchi. I think you could throw him at him. And as well, Charles Johnson did just beat Bruno Silva, but I think he could fight down. And I'll go up to number 12, Tim Elliott, who recently lost to Steve Erceg. So anyone from 12 to 15, I think would match up perfectly with Jose Ochoa. The main person I have on my radar is probably going to be Bruno Silva. Whether him or Edgar Charez wins, I think running it with Jose Ochoa would be very entertaining. So Jose Ochoa, excellent work, my man. You'll improve to 9-2, and you are now 2-2 in the UFC. As for Clayton Carpenter, this is now 3 straight losses after starting off 2-0. It's tough. He's lost to tough guys, to Tagirlan Bekov, Rafael Filo, and Jose Ochoa, but after starting off 8-0, he's now 8-3. I think it's going to be tough for him to rebound, but, there's going to be people out there for Clayton to fight. I could see him maybe taking on Cody Durden. I could see him taking on the loser of Alan Nascimento and Mitch Raposo. It's a fight coming up. I could even see him taking on... Gosh, I'm going to be honest, boys. I don't really know. I think it might be end of the road for Clayton Carpenter. He is 29, so I wouldn't call him done for good. But, Jose Ochoa is 25 and just stunted on him. So, great work for Jose Ochoa. And as for Clayton Carpenter, like I said, there's going to be guys to fight, but you're on a 3-fight losing streak after starting off 8-0. I don't know if they're going to give you another shot. So, we'll have to see. After that, we got it going. First finish of the night. Bosanger, Susarkarev gets it done again. This guy is so fun. He is so fun to watch. One of my favorite things about Bosanger is at times he just lulls you in, and this was an absolute dogfight. This was the toughest fight, I'd say, of his career, hands down. And just when you thought he wasn't going to get a finish, with 48 seconds left, he gets the round 3 rear naked chokehold. Crazy work from Bosanger, getting his 2nd career submission. You just love to see it, man. 107 significant strikes to 78. 136 total strikes to 89. 1 of 5 on takedowns. Defends the lone takedown from Jordan Santos. All of those stats in favor of Bosanger Susakarev. And round 1, pretty back and forth. Bosanger outstrikes him 21-19. DeJordan was looking a lot better than a lot of people were giving him credit for, even myself. And his striking was looking pretty good. Round 2, these two dialed it up. 56-45 in favor of Bosanger, but combining for over 100 significant strikes is crazy work. These two were just throwing for the fences, and Bossinger would get absolutely rocked and just smile at DeJordan, just keep walking him down. It was pretty dope to see. Bossinger fought everything like the biggest favorite, or second biggest favorite, I should say, on this card, and when it got into round 3, he decided to lean on the grappling halfway through, was able to lock in a rear naked chokehold, and was really just so finish conscious, I should say. A lot of times fighters get lulled into just being complacent. I'll say that's what happened in the main event for certain, but Bossinger looked like he was hunting for the finish, looked like he didn't want to risk it by going to the judges, despite being obviously up 1 round and, winning round 3. So the fight was a lock for Bossinger, but he keeps his 100% finish rate intact in the UFC, and this is now just in under UFC promotional stuff. From August to May, August 2025 to May 2026, his 4th win and his 4th finish. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, Bossinger, Susakarev, middleweight division, look the frick out. I don't really know what to do with him next. I have an idea. I think I'd like to test him in his next matchup. I would love to text you, Bossinger. That would be fun. You want to hang out, but I think we're going to test him with someone who fought on this card recently, and then we're going to throw another name out there of someone who they just might sacrifice to him, because the UFC loves to do that. But one last little shout out to Jordan Santos. He is 1-2 in the UFC, but he fought really hard here. He really did. So I say we give Jordan another shot. Middleweight division is deep. There's going to be some goons he can fight. I know Eric McConko he picked up a win over Rodolfo Vieira the other week, so I think that would be a fun fight for DeJordan, and dare I say even Rodolfo Vieira himself. So just 2 names to throw out there of potential opponents. But Bossinger, 3-0 in the UFC, getting it done. Happy to see what's next for him. And his record, I believe it's 12-0 now. 12-0 with 11 finishes. Impressive work from Bossinger Susakarev. The Last Hunter is his nickname. After that, featherweight division, short, sweet, and simple. Pat Sabatini grapples William Gomez to death. 3 of 20 on takedowns. He shot 6-1, 7-2, and 7-3 for a total of 11 minutes and 12 seconds of control time. Now, Pat, or William, I should say, William did better of defending as the rounds went on, but the issue here is just that he was just getting grappled to death. And I mean, round 2 was the only round I think a judge gave to Gomez. And yeah, it's because Gomez outstruck him significantly, 10-8. But like I said, Pat only landed 25 significant strikes, only attempted 70, which is really low. I really just got it done with holding him against the cage. A lot of this was done in the clinch against the cage. And was it entertaining? Not at all. But what would you expect? Pat Sabatini is on a 4-fight winning streak and has done literally the same thing in every fight. Now, might I add, he's been doing very impressive. This is now his 16th takedown over this win streak, and his last loss to Diego Lopez is aged like fine wine. So, Pat Sabatini, 4th straight wins. I believe his UFC record now is 9-2, and you got to reward him with a ranked opportunity. I think you really do, because, I mean, if you're going to go on a win streak, if you're going to be impressive, I want to reward you. I don't want to hold you back from your potential, Pat. So, well, there's a lot of options. But I think David Onama at 14 provides a very interesting challenge, especially David coming off a main event loss to a guy who's now fighting on the White House card, and Steve Garcia will be a great challenge for Pat Sabatini. So Pat Sabatini versus David Onama is the next match I think should take place. But yeah, Pat Sabatini just grappling Gomez to death was the name of the game here. And this is now the 2nd loss in the last year or 2 for William Gomez, but he is 15-4. Which isn't too bad. I'll say he hasn't been the most entertaining over this streak. So, William, there's unlimited featherweights for you to fight out there. I'm just going to throw out Chepe Mariscal, because Chepe Mariscal lost at the end of last year to Pat Sabatini. So, Chepe Mariscal versus, who was I just saying? Versus William Gomez. Sorry, William, I already forgot who you were. So, yeah, we can just run that fight. But Pat Sabatini, whether entertaining or not, gets the win nonetheless with his grappling. Back in the middleweight division as Roman Kopylov stunts on Marco Tulio with the grappling in a very impressive performance here, and might have earned another shot back into the middleweight rankings. Roman started off round 1 not looking too good. Marco outstruck him 22-15, looked very hesitant, and then seemingly out of nowhere, just dialed it up, dropped him once in round 2, knocked him down twice in round 3, and after being outstruck 22-15, leveled up and ended up outstriking him. I think it was 46 to 30, or 40, I should say, to the final 2 rounds. So impressive work. Roman even landed a takedown in round number 3. He dominated the final 2 rounds, and Roman Kopylov, great way to bounce back after being on a little 2-fight losing streak. Improves to 15-5 and gets his first decision win since 2024. Actually, his first win since January of 2025, nonetheless. So really good work. Roman was just getting it done. I have no idea how Marco Tulio survived. Props to Gasper Oliver, who was the referee, for letting this one go, because Marco was just getting dropped and just kept bouncing back up. So very fun stuff. For Tulio, this is now his 2nd straight loss, and he's now been dropped 4 times in his last 2 fights, which is not a good look. And like I said, I was going to mention someone for Bossinger to fight next as a challenge. I think would be a great opportunity for Marco Tulio. Along the same lines, DeJordan and Marco are both coming off of tough losses, so I think those two could fight each other next. For Roman Kopylov, it's tough. Middleweight is a deep division. I think you could maybe sprinkle him in there against a Roman Dolidze. Roman did just lose to Christian Leroy Duncan, someone who Marco Tulio just got knocked out by. So there's someone you could have him fight. You could even have him fight Jared Cannonier. That could be a fun fight. Jared Cannonier versus Roman Kopylov. Because why not? Why not? I can just matchmake whoever I want. And for Marco Tulio, winner or loser of Bossinger, Sutskarov, and Jordan Santos. Doesn't matter either way. This was a fun fight, and especially with Roman landing all those knockdowns, it really got the crowd revved up. And I'll tell you what else got the crowd revved up. That was Jim Miller and Jared Gordon. This was just a recipe for success. Jim Miller fighting in his home nation, his home state of New Jersey. New Jersey's basically a nation at this point. And at a plus 260 underdog, I just knew Jim Miller was straight cash. Like, I had no idea why he was an underdog. And from the jump, he just had this one in the bag. And for some reason, Jared Gordon shot a takedown, immediately is locked into a guillotine, and Jim Miller just never lets it go and just holds on for living daylights until Jared Gordon was forced to tap. And this is now going to be the 22nd career submission for Jim Miller, the 29th career finish, and his 28th win in the UFC. Incredible for Jim Miller here. His 39th professional victory as he nears in on professional fight number 60. He's so close. He is so gosh dang close. He's one away. He's at 59 professional fights in his career. So whoever he fights next is going to be a big deal. I can guarantee you there. And I think this was his 48th UFC fight. If I'm not mistaken, looking at my notes here, what was Jim Miller beforehand? He was 27-18. So what is actually, he might have a couple else to go, but yeah, Jim Miller trying to fight till 50 fights in the UFC, and he's just picked up his 39th career victory. So amazing work, Jim Miller. You performance of the night bonus, which you'll love to see. Incredible work. Now, what do we do next with him is so tricky. It's almost impossible. I'm going to be honest, because there's just too many legends out there. Too many legends for Jim Miller to fight. I don't want to see him fight an up-and-comer. I want to see fights like this one, where he's taking on a guy in Jared Gordon who's closer to his age. So, Jim Miller, you can pretty much do whatever the frick you want. Lightweight division runs very, very deep. So, if I can think of anyone just to throw a name out there at him, I'm really trying. Is Diego Ferreira still in the UFC? That could be a fun one. Michael Johnson, I think, could be a good name to get out there. Beneil Dariush even would be another veteran he could take on. But sky's the limit for Jim Miller. This guy's probably going to fight till he's 45 years old, and I'm here for it. Love you, Jim Miller, getting the finish in New Jersey. For Jared Gordon, this is now 2 straight losses. 2 times he's been finished. He's 1-3 in his last 4. Moves to 21-9 professionally, and just not the best look for Jared Gordon, if I'm being honest. Only the I think second time he's been submitted in his entire career, which is just kind of wow. So Jared Gordon might be sticking around, but my money would be if Jared Gordon gets another UFC fight, they're going to feed him to a prospect. they're going to feed him to someone young and hungry and ready to roll. But, hey, what are you going to do there? Jim Miller, you beauty, getting the finish, and we called it. And then we finally gotten to our first incorrect prediction. Grant Dawson and Matus Rebecca. And just when you think Matus is finally going to get a win, he loses it at the last second. So round one, obviously Grant Dawson getting it done. Looked good in the striking, held him down in the grappling. Matus did land a reversal, but didn't get it done. Grant Dawson does it well. Round two, Matus Rebecca dropped Grant Dawson. No idea how he didn't TKO him. He also landed a takedown. He was looking good. And then we get to round three. And round three is just, kind of annoying because Matus Rebecca lands a big shot, lands a significant strike, and then decides to engage in grappling where Grant Dawson handsomely takes him down and then proceeds to just spam rear naked chokehold submissions until he finally gets it with like 18 seconds left in the entire fight. So Grant Dawson, amazing work. Nothing more to say. I don't really regret picking Rebecca because, Rebecca was fighting like he was definitely going to win, but Grant Dawson, excellent win. First win since January of 2025. Going to pick up his 14th career sub, 19th career finish overall. Improves to 24-3-1, and has been looking good. It's been looking pretty good. This was his 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th career UFC win, and he only has 2 losses. Not too shabby. So Grant Dawson probably into the rankings with this one. I'm looking at your Beneil Dariush's, your Fair Zayams, your Hafel Fazivs, guys like that. Lots of options for Grant Dawson. But for Matus Rebecca, not too pretty. 3 straight losses, 1-4 in his last 5, and like I said, just not looking too good. This guy came into the UFC with an absolutely insane record of 16-1 and has since, just kind of, I don't want to say he hasn't delivered. He's 4-4, but, he just keeps losing to really tough competitors. So we'll see if Rebecca is given another shot. Maybe you do Grant Dawson or maybe do Matus Rebecca versus Jared Gordon. But hey, it's how it goes. I love you, Matus Rebecca. You put on some fun fights, but if you keep losing, there's just no reason to keep you around. And as for Grant Dawson, good stuff, man. He was finish conscious. That's my new word of the day. Finishing conscious, and it led to him getting the victory, which he was going to win nonetheless because he won rounds 1 and 3, but hey, it is what it is. So, amazing work, Grant Dawson. The only incorrect prediction we had on the prelims, and Matus Rebecca, it was fun while it lasted. Second to last prelim, Yaroslav Amosov and Joel Alvarez. It's crazy seeing skill gaps in MMA because Yaroslav Amosov, we knew he was good, but dominating a guy in Joel Alvarez who is just a finishing monster was crazy to see. It really was. Yaroslav goes 6 of 11 on takedowns in a 6-minute fight. So he landed a takedown on average every minute. Lands a submission, 1 minute and 13 seconds in round number 2. Now, round 1, domination. 5 takedowns, only allowed Joel to land 2 significant strikes. Held him down for almost 4 minutes. Yaroslav was an animal. Round 2, in kind of like in a motion like Demetrius Johnson, picks him up for a takedown and then immediately transitions into an arm triangle. Joel has no chance at all to escape, taps out, and Yaroslav Amosov gets his 30th professional victory. He also gets his 13th career submission, 22nd career finish. He's now 2-0 in the UFC. And yes, you heard that correctly. 30th career win. He only has 1 loss. This guy is 30-1. Is that not insane? That is an insane record in MMA. Yaroslav Amosov is as legit as they come. He's only 32. So Yaroslav is in the rankings at 14. I would probably keep him solid at 14. I'd maybe bump him even up to like 13 or something. But he's getting a big opportunity next, all right? And there's word Leon Edwards might be taking on Daniel Rodriguez. I know Buckley doesn't have anything going on. I know Gabriel Bonfim's taking on Bilal Muhammad. I know Usman doesn't have anything going on. So there's a lot of names out there. It kind of just depends how high you want Yaroslav to be booted up the rankings. So if I could really matchmake him with someone who is in the middle, because we got a lot of guys who are trying to fight upwards, I would probably say, Jack Della Maddalena when he gets healthy. I think they really want to move Yaroslav up the welterweight rankings because he's clearly legit. He dog-walked Neil Magny and Joel Alvarez, 2 unranked guys who are tough competitors. So Yaroslav, you absolute animal. I want to see you in the top 5. I want to see you in the top 10 as soon as possible. Like I said, he was a world champion in Bellator, fought in the Ukraine war. This guy is tough as nails, and he's also a nice fellow overall. So, Yaroslav, absolutely fantastic and fun to watch. For Joel Alvarez, first loss since 2022. Who was the last guy he lost to before that? Arman Tsarukyan. So, Joel Alvarez will easily bounce back. I'm seeing, there's some options out there at welterweight he could potentially take on. Maybe, who'd be someone that Joel Alvarez could potentially take on at welterweight? It's maybe Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal, Joel Alvarez, just because the name came to mind. But, yeah, unranked guys for now. As for Yaroslav, 2-0 in the UFC, 2 finishes, and get this guy a top 10 to top 5 opponent because he deserves it. Then we got into our final prelim of the night, Ateba Gaudier, Ozzy Diaz. It is as easy as predicted. Round 2 knockout, minute and 10 seconds in. Ateba outstruck him 12-4 in round 1, a very hesitant round 1. Defended 3 takedowns from Ozzy, looked very impressive. And once we got into round 2, it just took Ateba a bit to finally land that big overhand. Down goes Ozzy. In steps Gary Copeland. Did it seem a bit premature? Maybe I'll say. But nonetheless, Ateba wins. 10th straight win, 9th career knockout. He improves to a very stellar 11-1 and picks up his 5th career knockout in just over a calendar year. Just amazing work. Just amazing work. Or I should say 5th career UFC win. He had a decision in his last fight. So, Ateba Gaudier, you are just on a rocket ship to the moon, closing out the prelims in fantastic fashion. I'm just torn what we do with him next. Does he take on the Jordan Santos of the world? Does he take on the Marco Tullios of the world? I don't know. So Ateba Gaudier is kind of in that weird area of we don't know if we want to send him against a really tough guy, and we don't know if we want to just keep feeding buns to him. So I'd say someone in the middle, someone like Marco Tullio. That's why I just love using him as an example. Could be an option, but you know what? As long as he wins, as long as he looks dominant, that's what's important, and he's going to be getting bigger fights after this one. For Ozzy Diaz, he's now 1-2 in the UFC, including a loss on the Contender Series. He's 10-4 professionally and has now been knocked out in every single loss that he has had. So, Ozzy at 35, I don't know if they're going to keep you. If anything, you're just going to get fed to another middleweight that'll probably knock you out, someone like Roman Kopylov, but hey, what are you going to do? That's why I'm saying maybe Bossinger Susukara versus Ozzy Diaz. That sounds like a fight the UFC would make, in my opinion. But I'll also say Ozzy only landed 6 significant strikes, so it's like he really did not do well in this fight. Ateba dominated him, dropped him, quadrupled his freaking strikes, and is on to bigger fights coming up next. So great work, Ateba Gaudier, closing out the prelims in fantastic fashion. We then got right into our main card, and oh my goodness, King Green was on one in this fight, destroys Jeremy Stephens, walks through him like a knife through butter, 57 significant strikes to 5, lands a takedown, submits him with a rear naked choke. This may have been the most impressed I've been with King Green. Like, truly, he looked so well calculated here. He was so locked in at 39 years old, picking up your freaking 16th career UFC win, your 10th career submission, 22nd career finish, and King Green's going to improve to 35-17. 3rd straight win, too. Might add, already has 2 wins, 2 finishes in 2026. So King Green might be in his prime. He might be in his prime at 39. Remember, Glover Teixeira didn't hit his prime till his 40s? Maybe that's King Green. I don't know, but man, he ran through Jeremy. Jeremy, I don't know how you got to fight the UFC, but this guy also, by the way, hasn't won a UFC fight since 2018. And but obviously he's won some fights outside the UFC. I think he won a boxing fight, but in terms of MMA, bro has not had a win in a long time. So Jeremy Stephens, I don't know why you came back to the UFC. Just go away, stay retired. Just Jeremy Stephens, go away. But for King Green, 3rd straight win. Lance Gibson, Daniel Zuluber, and Jeremy Stephens, solid names on the resume. Last 2 losses are to literally Mauricio Ruffy and Paddy Pimblett, the number 10 and 6 in the division at lightweight. So for King Green, I say we reward him. I say we give him a ranked opponent. Now, who would that ranked opponent be? It's kind of tricky to say, but Beneil Dariush does kind of leap off the page at me. I could also maybe see a little Rafael Fiziev. I swear Rafael and King Green crossed paths a while ago. Did they? Well, maybe they didn't. Oh, yeah, they did. 2021, they had a fight of the night, and Rafael Fiziev actually won in a very close decision. So I say we rematch that, Rafael Fiziev versus King Green. Let's reward the man formerly known as Bobby Green because he's been killing it. And when you start off a main card like this, you're going to earn some respect. So King Green, phenomenal work, getting the finish, getting it done. I absolutely loved it, my man. Good job. 2 thumbs up from Zachary Ruger. With that, we get into the second fight, Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley. And if you want to see an insane skill gap, watch this fight. Sean Brady, ranked at number 6. Joaquin Buckley, ranked at number 9. By the way, these rankings are not updated. As of right now, I was hoping they would be, but despite being Tuesday, they're not updated, which is kind of good. But just to let you know, between the 6 and the 9, Sean Brady should probably move up a bit. The skill gap is insane. It's insane. 77 significant strikes to 5, 245 total strikes to 21, 4 of 10 on takedowns for 12 minutes of control time. Joaquin Buckley landed 1 significant strike in round 1, 0. In round number 3, Sean Brady mauls him, an absolute mauling. Keith Peterson, I was surprised he was letting go. The amount of time Sean Brady was in top mount, just doing little hammer fists, like basically playing the drums on Joaquin Buckley's face, was ridiculous. So Sean Brady, phenomenal work, way to bounce back from the Michael Morales loss, and it just kind of separates everyone, because then you're going to move Joaquin Buckley downwards with your Leon Edwards, and then Sean Brady is going to kind of establish that from 6 and up. From 6 words and up in the rankings are legit contenders. And that's exactly what Sean Brady did. And I was more than impressed with his performance here, man. This was a good performance. Entertaining fight? Not at all. This was a grappling spree, about as grappling as you can get. But watching Sean Brady do it was very impressive. So Sean improves the 19-2. He's going to be fighting up, and he's got a couple of options. There's going to be Jack Della Maddalena. There's maybe going to be, depending what happens, he could even fight Kamaru Usman. He could fight the winner of Gabriel Bonfim and Bilal Muhammad. There's a couple options, but right now we really need to figure out who Islam Makhachev is fighting next, because that will determine what do we do with Michael Morales, Ian Gary, and Carlos Prates, because literally the 1, 2, and 3 all have a claim to a welterweight title shot. So we really got to figure out what we're doing, but Sean Brady is going to be in the upper echelon and have himself another high-profile fight in his next matchup. For Buckley, 2 straight losses. Grappling has clearly been exposed as his weak point, so let's give him a striker. Why not? How about Mike Mallet, Uros Medic, or even, if we want to punish him, Yaroslav Abasov. So there's a couple options, but I would really like to see Mike Mallet or Uros versus Buckley, especially Uros. I think maybe run that in Serbia. Do you think Buckley could be ready by August? That would be a fun fight, little Uros Medic action. Or does Uros have a fight booked? I hope he doesn't have a fight booked. No, he doesn't have a fight booked. So Uros Medic versus Joaquin Buckley is the next fight that I want to see. With that, we got into the big 3. Not really the big 3, I'd say. From here on up, it was all big fights. But Alexander Volkov, Waldo Cortez Acosta, literally the Bilal Muhammad effect. The first fight I finally picked this guy in, he loses. So, Waldo, clearly we learned your skill gap is Alexander Volkov. But he looked good, and I'll say this was a closer fight watching it live than actually looking back at the stats. Because for the stats, Volkov outstruck him every single round. In total, outstruck him 88-54. It didn't really feel like that. Watching the fight, it felt very even. It was kind of hard to score. Judges ended up scoring it 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. And honestly, I have no disagreement whatsoever. I really don't, because Volkov just hammered it out and got it done. So I'll say it's tough to see Waldo lose, but clearly Waldo is legit. He hung in there with Volkov, who's ranked at number 2. And despite being ranked at number 4, he's probably going to drop. They're probably going to bump Hoken over him, which is comedic. But now we know who Waldo can take on and who he cannot. So there's going to be a couple options here. There's going to be Curtis Blades at 7. There's going to be Sergey Spivak at 6. There's maybe even going to be Rizvan Kuniev and Tyrell Fortune. I think those 2 are fighting soon. And the winner of that could fight Waldo Cortez Acosta. So a lot of options for Waldo. We'll see what he does next. But the main one that we want to talk about for this fight is Volkov. Volkov has now picked up 2 straight wins. He's also 6-1 in his last 7. And he's been looking pretty good. All right, 40th career win, by the way. He's now 40-11 and picks up, I think, his, 14th career win in the UFC. Good job, Alexander Volkov. Now, the issue, Volkov, is you're kind of caught in a weird vortex here, because you're ranked at number 2, And we still don't know when Tom Aspinall's going to be back. So how this is going to work is Alexander Volkov is probably going to be on the back burner for a while because, he's already beaten the number 3 guy. He's beaten the number 4 guy. He's beaten, a lot of guys they've thrown at him. I mean, technically, a lot of people agreed he probably should have beaten Cyril Gahn when they fought. I just want to throw that out there. Also, we can throw out anyone else in the top rankings? Marcin Tybura? No, not really. But, Volkov doesn't have anyone to fight. So what do we do at heavyweight? Obviously, you have Cyril Gahn and Alex Pereira. Depending on who wins that, you got a lot of options. Because the winner of that could take on Volkov depending on how long Aspinall's out. But if Aspinall's ready to go and he's ready to face the winner of that, Volkov might be sat waiting for the winner of that. So we're going to have to see what happens at UFC Freedom 250. That'll then let us know how soon Aspinall can get back in there. And especially if there's shenanigans, let me tell you right now, if something happens and Cyril Gahn versus Alex Pereira ends in a no contest, Alexander Volkov, I kid you not, is going to fight the winner of Josh Hogan and Derek Lewis for the interim belt. I kid you not. That is exactly what's going to happen. I don't know. I would put my life savings on it, but I'm pretty confident that would be the case. So Volkov, way to get it done, fending off Walter Cortez Acosta. Kind of a regular fight, but it is what it is. Because after that, we got into our fight of the night, and Joshua Van Tatsuro Taira are literally the future of the division, 24 years old and 26 years old. And I'll say how this fight started out, I thought it was wraps. I was so pumped. I thought Tatsuro was going to run through Joshua Van. And then right after the round ends, Joshua Van got cooking and everything went to hell. Let me just say, everything went to hell. Tatsuro Taira just ended up getting pieced up on the feet. Did amazing in the grappling, 8 of 21 on takedowns. But unfortunately, his 10.5 minutes of control time were not enough to match the insane striking that Joshua Van possessed. So round 1, we get it going. 4 takedowns for Tatsuro. Literally marched across the ring, and in the first 10 seconds had taken down Joshua Van. And we were all like, oh my gosh, he's going to submit him. He obviously wins round 1. Heading into round 2, Joshua Van comes out and shockingly drops Tatsuro. Pretty shocking moment. Tatsuro manages to fend it off, land a takedown, and get 3 minutes of control time. Round 3, Tatsuro lands 2 takedowns, but only for 42 seconds of control time. Joshua Van drops him, outstrikes him 57-14 significantly, attempts 2 submissions. Dominant round for, Joshua Van there. Round 4, Tatsuro is only outstruck by 6 on the feet, ends up laying a takedown for 3 minutes of control time. Good stuff, but when we got to round 5, it was hit it or quit it, and Tatsuro had just done so much to stay alive. He was just barely hanging in there on the feet. Only took 27 significant strikes from Joshua Van, and he gets the round 5 TKO with 1 minute and 32 seconds left. So Joshua Van is now not only your reigning, but also your defending flyweight champion, and he is as legit as they come. I gotta give it to you, Josh. I doubted you, and I will doubt you no more. I still think Pantoja runs through this kid, but he's now ranked at number 10 in the pound for pound, and I hate to be that guy. Pantoja at 9 is lost. Merab at 8 is lost. Tom Aspinall at 7 is a no-go. I might throw Joshua Van up to the number 7 pound for pound fighter on the planet. Is that too ridiculous for me to say? I hope not. I'm just a big Joshua Van lover, even despite him not picking him in this fight. I just really love Tatsuro Taira. And what really broke my heart is that Dana White said if Tatsuro won, he was 100% making an event in Japan for the end of the year. So hate to see you lose, Tatsuro, but I do love to see you win, Joshua Van. I think the best case scenario here was me picking Tatsuro, and if Joshua Van won, Joshua Van won. So Joshua Van, impressive stuff to him. He's actually, fun fact, in second place behind Alexander Pantoja for significant strikes in flyweight history. This dude averages over 100 every single fight, which is insane to see. This was his, I think, 7th, or was it might have been his 7th straight win. I think it was his 7th straight win in that win streak. This is now going to be his 2nd, or actually technically his 3rd TKO, 2nd fight of the night, and dude's been on an absolute roll. I mean, dude's been absolutely killing it. So Joshua Van, whenever Pantoja is ready, he's ready to run it. We're not going to talk about any winner of Manel Cape and who is it? Kyoichi Horiguchi. We're not going to talk about any of that because Pantoja looks to be ready, looks to be healing. Let's wait for that fight because I do not want to lose and miss out on Joshua Van versus Pantoja because now it feels like a legit fight. As for Tatsuro, second career loss, I wouldn't hold him too much against him. His 2 losses are fight of the night. So this was an absolute war. This was one of the best title fights of the year, hands down. I think this might have passed Patty and Justin. It's close. I still might have Patty and Justin ahead, but Tatsuro, you're still an absolute animal, and there's unlimited options for him to do. Number 6 ranked Loner Kavanagh, number 8 ranked Atsuo Mabayev. You also have the winner, dare I even say the loser, of Kyoichi Horiguchi and Manel Cape. So a lot of options for Taira. He's only 26 years old. I still think he's going to be a world champion one day. Joshua Van is just the man of the hour right now. So really good co-main event, maybe the best of the year. Let's talk about that main event because it was absolutely insane. Now, I'm under the sentiment where so a lot of people are saying robbery of Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. I did score the fight for Khamzat. I thought when it went to the judges' scorecards, it was a split decision. It was going to Khamzat. I acknowledge that Sean did really well, but I'll be honest, I really did think that Khamzat Chimaev retained the belt here. But hey, you know what? When we look back, Khamzat Chimaev landed 9 of 13 takedowns and only had 7 minutes of control time. That kind of tells me all I need to know there. Round 1, I also thought was a 10-8, which kind of, complicated things a bit. But hey, that's just me. Obviously, neither guy landed a significant strike. Khamzat only attempted 3. Sean didn't even throw a significant strike. And also, Khamzat was not finishing conscious the entire fight. Khamzat was not hunting for a finish. And you actually can see the moment, by the way, so Khamzat wins round 1. In round 2, where Khamzat gets caught with a solid straight, which, in the moment looks just like a normal punch, but it really wobbled him. And it was after that, he shot his failed takedown. And after the failed takedown, like I said, when Sean gets back up, Khamzat just lays there in full guard. And I thought the fight was going to end there. I thought he had torn something. That was when Sean got on top of him for 3 minutes. And, didn't really land a lot of strikes, but held him there. It was 1-1 heading into round 3. Round 3, Khamzat doesn't attempt a significant strike, not significant strike, a takedown, and chooses to then just stand and bang with Sean Strickland, where he then, obviously he was outstruck 43-29. Sean won on the feet. It's not like it was, Sean was dicing him up completely, but after watching the round, everyone was kind of like, okay, it's a very close round. Could maybe go either way, but I think a lot of people were leaning on Sean Strickland there, okay? So that would have had it 2-1 Sean. Round 4, going to be a Khamzat round. Outstruck him on the feet, held him against the cage, landed a takedown. It was tied up, heading in round 5. And this is just where things get complicated in round 5. Because all of round 5, I know he only had a minute and a half control time, but he landed 6 of 7 takedowns. I'm not doing the meme, but he landed 6 of 7 takedowns and only was outstruck by Sean 31-22. So it boils down to, did you outweigh the grappling of Khamzat in round 5 over the striking of Sean or vice versa? And for me, watching Sean just get relentlessly taken down and not landing the biggest significant strikes, I'll say I really thought that Khamzat has retained, but I understand the case for Sean Strickland. But Sean Strickland does it again. He's now had 2 of the biggest upsets in UFC history, and you know what? 2-time middleweight champion. Great work to Sean. He's already kicked off the year with a bang after having a rough 2025, and it's just crazy to think that this guy is the world champion again. So Sean's going to go up from number 3 to middleweight champion, and he just beat the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. So Sean Strickland, throw him in the top 10 at pound-for-pound, throw him in the top 5. Dude's an absolute legend. We don't really need to talk about what's next for him. It's going to be the number 2 ranked Nasruddin Imavov, who should be ranked number 1. Nasruddin and Sean actually have history, which is going to be fun. But yeah, that'll be a title fight for later in the year. There's rumors they might be going to Paris, so that's your perfect Paris main event. Love to see that there. As for Khamzat, we're getting mixed signals here. Okay, Khamzat obviously lost his first fight. Split decision, very close. It's very reminiscent of Tatsuro Taira's first career loss. Very reminiscent of, who are some other good examples that I could use? Maybe Israel Adesanya's first career loss. It's tough. It's tough. But I definitely understand how he doesn't really know what to do, because after the fight, he goes up to Dana White and he's like, I want to move up to light heavyweight, which, after seeing him always struggle to make weight at welterweight, always struggling to make weight at middleweight, I think light heavyweight would be a perfect option. Plus, Carlos Ulberg isn't the most entertaining champion. We don't really have a true number one contender. I think Hamzat trying to win the belt at light heavyweight would be super fun. Or then hearing from his camp, by the way, this has been literally a 2-day turnaround, that now he wants a rematch with Sean Strickland and he won't take anything else. Now, is he entitled to one? Probably, when the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, who's 15-0, loses a close split decision, wants a rematch. I'm completely behind that, especially when I look at fights like Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, where they got to rematch each other, and Dominic Reyes and John Jones never got to run it back. So, I can understand either case. I'd rather see Hamzat move up in weight, take on, he's boys with Khalil Roundtree Jr., maybe take on Jiri Prochaska. He'd probably maul him, but is what it is. Maybe even Magomed Ankalaev he could run it with, or even just straight up give him a light heavyweight title shot against Carlos Ulberg. But I don't know. Sean Strickland does it again. Like I said, I know everyone was making patriotic memes, but I'm just not a big Sean Strickland guy. I'll say the sentiment that Sean Strickland is boring, he has completely wiped me out on. I'll completely admit that now he's entertaining. He's now had 2 entertaining fights in 2026. But hey, Sean Strickland gets it done. Not much more to say. Props to you. For Hamzat, who knows where we're going to see him next, but I do still think he'll bounce back. But it really didn't look like the Hamzat Chimaev that beat DDP. It really looked like a guy who thought he could just easily take out Sean Strickland, and Sean Strickland just never really gave him a chance in round 1 to submit him, which I think rattled Hamzat a bit. So we'll move on from this event forward and onward, but I still think it was a fantastic event. And right now, May has hands down been the best, month of fights with 2 back-to-back events that delivered. We are going to run into kind of a blunder with next week, or this week, I should say. Wow, in literally 4 days, Fight Night Arnold Allen and Melquizael Costa, just going to be your number 8 and number 12 ranked featherweights on the planet. There's really nothing on this card. He had a couple of entertaining fighters, Doo Ho Choi and Daniel Santos, Malcolm Wildmaker, Modestas Bukauskas, Tommy Gant makes his debut, that's cool. Top 5 women's bantamweight action. Cody Brundage, I'm sorry, pause. How is Cody Brundage getting another fight in the UFC? This guy's already lost twice in 2026. Oh, Cody Brundage. I almost love how he still gets UFC fights. So we'll predict this card. It's kind of a dud, if I'm being honest, but hey, I'm not going to complain too much, because after that, what do we get? We get nothing. Then we go to China. Then we go to Vegas. And then look at that. In a month, it's UFC Freedom 250. So it's creeping up on us. Should be exciting. And I look forward to it. I also, boys, we are now 2 months away from International Fight Week. Like literally July 11th. So under two months. And there is literally no news. Okay, I know I should probably be talking about this on the next episode, but I just wanted to talk about this real quick, that no one from this card is going to be fighting on there in terms of a title fight. You could maybe have Petr Yan and Merab, but that's not really a main event type of match. Volk and Evlov I could see, but I don't know if Evlov and Volk are going to be ready. Ian Tapir is fighting at UFC Freedom. Islam's the number 1 rumored name. As for heavyweight, we're not going to be getting anything. You could maybe get a women's fight, but like I said, we got June booked out, and there's been no news on women's fights, like at all, which is kind of ridiculous. So I don't know if the women's divisions are just dead at all. But the main rumors, there's two. It's McGregor versus Holloway or Makhachev versus McGregor. I kid you not. Those are the 2 main rumors. I'm hoping more so it's Michael Morales versus Islam or Ian Gary versus Islam. But I've been told from the online community that both Gary and both Morales are not the opponents of Islam. So are we just going to do McGregor versus Holloway or Islam? I mean, I could care less either way, but it would still be epic. But I just don't think the UFC wants to put hope in McGregor again. Because remember, 2 years ago, he sold on them. All right, he sold on them and he ruined their event. So it didn't actually get ruined, but you know what I mean. So we're going to have to see. But with the days going by, we tick closer and closer, and yet no news. So we'll have to see. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back. Another episode later in the week. But UFC 328 delivered, and it was fantastic to watch. So thank you guys so much for listening. Have an amazing rest of your day, rest of your week, whenever you're listening to this. If it's a drive to work, way home from work, maybe you're just sitting in your basement, you want to listen to me. I appreciate you. And you have a good rest of your time, and I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jam Podcast.